Hello everybody, today is the 17th of August and this is the Flux Dev Meeting. So we will start as always going through some of the current GA stuff and the things that we've done in the last while. So I'll share quickly my screen and cover the points we merged in the last few days really since the last dev meeting. So if we go, well, we can go to the so we have a few things. So we are rolling out back-off retry exponential across all the controllers. I think the image reflector controller was the last one for us to do that. So that should be done now. We removed muscle. I think we talked about that before, but I think the issue was still lingering around. Sas Keys. So basically on Azure, when using Bucket to access blob storage, there are several different types of authentication. The only authentication method that we didn't support so far was the Sas Keys. So Santochi finished the work on this one. So now we support all authentication methods for Azure, which is absolutely brilliant. So moving that across. Sanskar worked on this bit, which is around making sure that I think it's our Git kit would work on Windows as well. So contributors would be able to run that on their own machines. So that are the key things that we actually merged in the last few days really. So we can go back to the agenda. As always, we have an item here for any PRs, anything that is GA specific that needs to be prioritized in terms of review. So if you have anything, please add to the list and we'll try to kind of prioritize that sooner rather than later. And so we can crack on to the next agenda item, unless anyone has any questions. I'll take that as a no. So pretty much is the new security audit. So just wanted to kind of highlight, I requested yesterday, I believe, a new security audit. The focus there is pretty much to see if CNCF can get some security researchers going through all the things that we've done in the last year since the last audit, and just to kind of highlight all the good work we've been doing so far. We want to focus on things like multi-tenancy, OCI, and especially source controller, Helm controller, and customized controller. And in parallel to that, but secondarily, to also focus on notification controller and Flagger. So that is started. It might take a few months for that to take place, but the most important thing is we submitted it. So as I have news, I will let you guys know. Any questions about the security audits at all? All right, so let's move on to Sanskar's item.
Yeah, we were discussing yesterday about an RFC which is required to disable HTTP connections across all controllers. So basically enforce that all controllers use only HTTPS. So I was wondering who's going to pick that up or pick that up, like write that RFC up.
Yeah, so just to confirm on that, I didn't pick that up. Who is working on the RFC for that?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, so, okay, yeah.
Is there anyone working, or is it up for grabs?
I think maybe up for grabs. I remember Max asking as well. But yeah, I don't think anyone is working on that. What I can do, well, we can just tag Max as well, just to check if he is. But I haven't seen anyone saying that they're actually working on it.
I can work on it after the Git stuff gets over. Hopefully by the end of this month, I can work on it.
Brilliant. Cool.
Okay.
We run out of items on the agenda. Is there any ad hoc item, anything that folks want to discuss or highlight?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss how we are wrapping up the refactoring. Is Sunny here?
No, Sunny hasn't joined. But what do you have in mind? Pretty much like, do you have any ideas on how we could, improve the speed of the refactoring?
First, I want to understand what are the blockers and set some deadlines for this, because it's 1.5 years since we decided to do this, and I think it's time to deal with it and not wait 1 more year to finish this stuff.
Okay, I think it would be good to definitely raise that maybe on the next meeting as well. So I'll put this as an item for the next meeting, especially because then Hide and Sunny would be around. And I think we definitely need them around, given that they've been involved the most on the controller rewrite. But yeah, it's a fair point. If there's anything that other contributors can help, it's always good to know. So I will actually, yeah, I'm just putting that for the next agenda for the next meeting actually. Brilliant. Anything else, guys? Anything you guys worried about, concerned about, or just want to talk about?
Did we set up a deadline for the Git refactoring?
I don't think we have a deadline for that, although I think we're quite close to it. I think one thing that would be worth is maybe breaking down or reviewing the current scope, the things that are still up in the air, make sure that nothing is missing. And then based on that, it's a lot easier for us to kind of be able to tell how long it's going to take.
So I am aiming for the end of this month. So once the Libgit 2 PR gets merged, hopefully today, I am going to create 4 or 5 issues, which will basically highlight what all needs to be done in order to say that the Git consolidation is kind of at a stable state.
Brilliant. So I capture that as an action item to review the scope. So, create new items and stuff, just to make sure we have everything on the backlog. Yeah, I think there's an issue I created that there's quite a few things that don't need to be in scope for GA. We can handle them later, so I'll break that down as well. Put that. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah, I think we need to add some kind of reminder to look into the new Crd validation language that Kubernetes has added support for.
Yep. The CEL, right, or something like that.
Yeah. So you can do all sorts of conditioning now in the validation, and that will help a lot with things like, so a Helm release can have a Git repo source and a Helm repo source. So if the source is a Helm repository, then the name of the chart cannot be a path. Right? This is something we can currently not do with the validation.
Yeah.
And it keeps coming back. People start with a Git repo, they place the chart there, then they move to a Helm repo, and they leave the alias / something, or it's a path there, right? And they are very surprised, though it doesn't work. Instead, we should reject such a change to Helm release, saying that chart names for coming from Helm repos cannot have aliases in there because it's no longer a path, it's an alias, and those port aliases and so on, right? And there are more things like that, where the current validation is not, sufficient.
I completely agree, and I quickly checked this new mechanism today as well, actually yesterday, and it definitely feels like it could add a lot of benefits, especially with this self-introspection of the object. So I added that.
So what we have to look into as the first step is what happens if we add that field to the CRD and we apply it on, I don't know, 122. Will it be rejected? Is the CRD invalid? Or Kubernetes will just ignore that field and keep working? If that's the case, then we don't have to wait 1 year to use them.
Yeah, I can check down the cap, but given how strict is the new cap things for a few versions now, I think since the 120, I would assume it's backwards compatible, so we would probably just ignore it. But it's better to check on the cap for sure. I will add that.
Yeah, check it on a real cluster, not the cap. Like create a 122 cluster, apply the CRD with extra validation, and see if it fails or not. If that field is optional, it should be dropped at ingestion time and should cause no issues. If it's not optional, or there is something else going on in the API, then we cannot upgrade unless 122 becomes end of life.
The 123 becomes end of life next. Oh no, it's in October, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I put an action item for that to confirm new validation works. If it breaks before Kubernetes 1.22. Brilliant. All right. Any more interesting things to talk about?
Also on the CRD validation, we have all over the place references to other resources like a secret ref, config ref, kubeconfig, which is in a secret, or references to other Flux objects. And we should add validation for those. All over the place.
No, I completely agree. So to your point, and I think to some other people that might not seen the thread, basically we created an issue to track some of that review validation across the controllers. I will actually add the link here. So it's on the agenda items as well. But basically, yes, especially before J, we need to make sure that all the validation is in place. We formalize completely all the requirements and the rules for all the fields we expose. So I will add that on the list right now.
So the first thing we have to do is add KubeBuilder validations to the reference type in package. Bump the API's meta version, imported in all controllers, and all of a sudden all the cross references and secret references and everything should be validated. Now that this doesn't capture all references because we couldn't use this common package due to the fact that builder validations are silly comments. And you cannot override comment when you use the package. So, for example, Helm controller does not use the cross-reference package from the common one because it needs to validate which types of sources it supports. It doesn't support all sources, it only supports some of those. Customized controller the same. So it's not enough to add here the QBuilder annotations. We also have to go into each controller, read all the spec, find all the references which don't use the common package, and add the validations there as well. And this will capture, like, I don't know, a very small part of the whole work. But it's a good first step to add validations to the common package.
Brilliant. Yeah, I noticed that on the, yeah, we could improve that as well to actually have some validation like better specified there, because at the moment we say name is required and all, but we don't put any rules around it. So we can follow pretty much the same that we started with Helm controller. So for example, on the link that you shared, we're not enforcing, you know, DNS rules, but actually, yeah, I think it's the DNS rules for name and namespace. So, you know, the specific rejects and also the max length. But that's something we can do as well. But cool.
Yeah, it's different. A secret name and a config name has no restriction as a Kubernetes label, while a Flux customization and a Flux release name has the restriction of the labels. So not everything is restricted to the 63 characters.
Characters, yeah.
Only some things.
Yeah, we definitely need to review it, reinforce all that. Okay, I'll add this link to the issue as well, so we have all in one place, apart from the agenda. Cool. Anything else you want to cover around the validation?
No, I think we're good.
Brilliant. I'm thinking about potentially making a release with the Sas support for source controller and potentially the same for Helm controller with the panic recovery. But yeah, I'm not sure yet if that will work this week, but we can pick that up offline. Is there anything pressing to be released this week?
No, but we have to release all controllers.
Okay.
Because now the panic recovery is in all of them, makes no
Yeah.
sense to just release one or whatever. There are 3 things that I really want to get into Flux 2 before the next patch release, which are tagged with area OCI. So it's ignore path for OCI artifacts. The idea here is that you can do a Flux push of a whole repo content. You just give it a dot, Flux push artifact dot, right? And the usual stuff you'll do in CI. You want to package the whole repo content and publish that to a container registry. Now, the issue is that once you do that, we don't filter which files are included. And you end up with the git .git directory in the artifact.
which is not great.
Which is not great at all, makes the artifact huge,
Huge.
even if Flux will never use that and has no means of doing anything with the Git history. So what Santosh and I have been doing, we've extracted the Git ignore mechanism from source controller into package. So we made the package for that. It's called source ignore. Then we used this package inside the OCI client, and we now allow the OCI client build and push actions to take an array of ignored paths who can be in the git ignore format. And so that was done yesterday, and today what I did was adding a command flag to the Flux build and push artifact command with the defaults, which are the same as for source controller. So if you starting with the new patch release of the Flux CLI, when you do a Flux build of a Flux push of a Git repo, by default, .git, git ignore will be excluded. Also, I've added their exclusion for all binary files like GIF, JPEG, TARs, stuff that Flux cannot deal with, and they will just make the artifact bigger even if there are no use on the cluster. So this is a good improvement for the OCI feature, reducing by default the artifact size. There are two more issues that I would really like to get them sorted, which are fairly easy to implement. Adding filters to Flux list artifact. So what happens with Flux list? Let's say you want to see all the tags of an artifact that you push to the registry, and you want to do it from the command line. And we don't show only the tags. We show you the tags, and we also show you the OCI annotations that the Flux CLI has added to the artifacts. For example, the upstream source URL, the Git URL, and the upstream revision, which is branch SHA or tag SHA or just a SHA. Well, in order to do this, there is no thing in the OCI API for getting a list of manifests on the registry. So first we need to call get me all the tags, then we need to download each manifest for every single tag. And this takes a huge amount of time because there is no batching mechanism to say, I want the manifest for this list of tags. So we need to do a for each, and for each tag, we make an API call. And if you have hundreds of tags, it could take hours. It's like really, really slow because there is also rate limiting involved and so on. And how we would like to improve this is allowing people to specify a filter. Let's say you only want to list the tags between 1.x and 2.x, right? Give it a Samware range, or you want to give it a regex expression, where you only want to see tags that start with staging or with production, and you want to look only at those. And that will improve the situation because we will apply the filters after we list all the tags. So we'll only get the manifest, we'll do those API calls only for the tags which are in scope. And it's tentative to make the Flux list artifacts more useful once you have hundreds and hundreds of tags. So that's one thing. And lastly is the possibility of deleting artifacts with Flux, with the Flux CLI. The idea is CI, the workflow is for each change in your source in Git, you'll push an immutable artifact, you tag it with the Git SHA, then you have some mutable tag like latest, staging, production, or whatever, and you move the staging tag to point to that immutable artifact. So we encourage people on creating for each change an immutable artifact. Now, the issue is, like I said before, after some months of developing, you'll end up with, I don't know, very large amount of artifacts. Now, of course, you can go into GitHub UI, I don't know, Docker Hub UI, click on delete tag. That will probably take a very long time. It's awful. So for now, we'll offer a delete command where we give it the whole URL of the image, including the tag, and we're going to delete that tag. Maybe in the future, you can either pipe the Flux list result into Flux delete. So we need to take the delete input from standard in. So people can, create a script that clears tags older than some date or something like that. Or we make delete smarter and we add since as an argument there, and you give it a date or older than this date, and we'll delete all the others. Or regex filter. I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely an issue if you have no means of cleaning up all the artifacts that are just there and you no longer need them. So these three things are on my mind for the next patch release. Going to link it here. And that's it from me.
Brilliant. All right. Put some of that onto the notes. Is there anything else for anyone else? Anyone else want to raise anything? Cool. Well, so let's Kingdom. Oh no. Okay.
No,
So all right. So well, if that is it, then so let's cut the meeting short, and see you guys soon. So you guys have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.